everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tertiary Sector. I hope that you've been enjoying my videos thus far. If so, please leave me a comment down below. I would love to hear some of your feedback. In today's video, we will be going through the business sectors and their challenges with the business environments for grade 12. So stay tuned and enjoy. Please take note that I don't take any credit for the information that has been provided in these slides. I have received this information from government resources, which I have linked in my description down below, as well as at the end of my slides as resources. I do this just to make sure that the information students are receiving is accurate, correct, and relevant. I wouldn't want to change it in any way to disadvantage the students during their tests and their exams. All right, let's get started. Business sectors and their environments. So in today's video, we're going to be looking at the introduction, the primary sector, the secondary sector, the tertiary sector, the business environments, and then the challenges in the business environments. Introduction. So with this, I know this concept has been dealt with in both grades 10 and grades 11. In grade 10, this was introduced, the concept of the business environments, and then we looked at each of the components. In addition, we also looked at the 3 different sectors in detail. Then moving to grade 11, we looked at the link or the relationship between the sectors, including the challenges coming from the business environment. So now in grade 12, we are going to be diving into the identification of the business sectors. We're also looking at the classification of the challenges and the identification of the challenges, and the extent to which the control is there for the business environments. All right, so looking at the business environments. Businesses are divided according to different sectors. These are based on the nature of the business, the type of product or service offered by the businesses. The 3 business sectors form a chain of production from the source or the origin of the product until it reaches the consumers and the customers. The chain of production is interdependent to make meaningful or functional goods and services available to the consumers or the customers. The interaction between the 3 sectors makes it possible for various operations to take place. So let's look at them at all 3 sectors, but we're not going to dive into much detail. This detail does get discussed in grade 10, and I will be uploading that video in a few weeks to come. The primary sector. The primary sector focuses on activities related to the extraction, the exploitation, the cultivation, or the harvesting of natural resources or raw materials. It is often referred to as the extractive or exploitive industries, as it involves acquiring natural resources or raw materials. The primary sector is dependent on nature, the natural environment, because it utilizes or uses the Earth's natural resources, land, minerals, and vegetation. The primary sector plays a critical or essential role in the production activities, because without it, further production activities would be impossible in the secondary sector. So, a nice example here, what we're looking at is, if a company wants to make benches, then they are going to need wood. So in the primary sector, we're going to be chopping down that wood, extracting that raw material. Making jerseys and tops, we need material, but material is made from wool. So we are going to shear the sheep of their wool, spin it into thread or spin it into wool, and then that can be woven in and knitted to make clothing. So this is where we're looking at the primary sector. So very, very important, a note that you can make there is that it's raw materials. It comes from the earth. And then when we move on to the secondary sector, we are changing that into a useful product, but we're going to get there now. Then here's an image. Sorry, the quality is not so great. I did snip it and extract it from a learner guide, again, that I have linked in my description below as a resource. So when we look here, we've got our primary sector activities. So primary sector can include farming, fishing, forestry, or mining and quarrying. So in farming, we have agricultural activities. So that's like your fruits and your vegetables and mealies, like shown in this image below. And then animal husbandry, okay? Here we've got like our cows for milk. We've got our sheep for their wool. Fishing, we have fish trawling, and then fish farming. Forestry, we've got logging and then rubber taping. So logging is actually getting the wood from the trees. And then rubber taping, they do it around a tree and it gets all that sap and they turn that into rubber. And then mining and quarrying, we've got coal mining, iron ore mining, oil drilling, which is usually done in the ocean, and then diamond mining. So here's a very nice diagram. You're more than welcome to pause the video at this stage and just jot down this diagram. It's a very nice diagram of all the activities in the primary sector. Then moving on to the secondary sector. In the secondary sector, we are focusing on activities related to the production or manufacturing of products. It uses the natural resources or raw materials sourced by the primary sector, and then it adds value to them. The secondary sector is often referred to as the manufacturing industries because valuable products are created, manufactured, or produced so that these products can serve a meaningful function or purpose to consumers and customers. It transforms or converts, it processes natural resources and raw materials into meaningful products or semi-finished products. The secondary sector plays an important or critical role because not all resources in their natural state are functional, useful, and require further processing. So here exactly that example that I used, we are shearing the sheep in our primary sector. Then we're taking that wool. In the secondary sector, we are spinning it into wool, or we are weaving it to make garments and clothing. So when we say semi-finished goods, in the secondary sector, we could be taking that wool and making material. From that material can then be cut out and made into dresses. So it can be seen as a finished good and also a semi-finished good. The wood, for example, we can cut it into wood blocks or wood panels that will be used in a house. That will be used to make a bench, for example. So that's what we're talking about, the semi-finished goods. And I always find with these three sectors, the nice way to remember them is to think about the raw material and then how are we changing that all the way until the tertiary sector. So these examples that I'm making use of, it's just so you can see the link and the trail of how they are all connected. And then here's another image. It's a bit small, but the secondary sector activities. So we have manufacturing, processing, transforming, and converting. So we've got the automobile manufacturing, making of cars, furniture manufacturing, plastic manufacturing, textile manufacturing, that's like our clothes and our material, breweries and bottling industry, metalworking and smelting. Then we've got construction and building, property development, infrastructural development, and shipbuilding. Again, pause the video at this time. It's a nice diagram to see of all the activities in the secondary sector. Moving on to the tertiary sector. The tertiary sector focuses on activities related to providing final products and services to consumers or customers. It is often referred to as the services sector because a variety or diverse range of commercial services are provided to consumers or customers. The tertiary sector involves activities aimed at making the distribution of products or services possible. It plays a unique or different role because it allows natural resources, raw materials that were collected and transformed available to consumers or customers. Businesses in the primary and secondary sector rely on the tertiary sector to make their products or services available to the consumers and customers in a convenient, efficient, and effective manner. So, here we go. In the tertiary sector, I always remember this as like a shop. So where do you go and buy your product? You go and buy it from the shop. So, we're looking at a wool jersey. Primary sector, shearing the sheep for the wool. Taking that wool to the secondary sector, and we're making it into wool. We can also from there make it into jerseys. And then we're selling it at the retail shops, where I walk in and go buy that finished product, I go buy that jersey. That's the flow between all of them. Another example is our wood example. Primary sector, we are chopping down the wood. Secondary sector, we are making them into panels, and we even can make them into benches. Tertiary sector, we are selling furniture. We're selling tables, we're selling chairs, we're selling benches. So that's how you can see from primary all the way into tertiary how the product is being changed. Then, nice little diagram for the tertiary sector. So here, we've got our wholesalers and retailers, as I mentioned. We've got our financial services, our insurance services, banking services, entertainment services, hospitality services, educational services, legal services, maintenance services, warehousing services, advertising services, and transport services. So there's quite a lot of activities here that you can see, but important to remember that it's usually always the finished product, the end good, that we're making use of at the tertiary sector. All right, so that's the three business sectors. As I said, it was quite brief because we did dive into it more in grade 10 and further in grade 11. So when it gets to grade 12, we're just looking at it as a whole. Now we're going to look at the business environments. I have done videos of these for grades 10, so you're more than welcome to check them out. But we're just going to go through a quick overview of the business environments. All right, as you know, we have the microenvironment, the market environment, and the macro environment. Okay, remembering the microenvironment has full and complete control. The market environment, there is quite a lot of wording there that we can make use of. They've got some control, limited control, less control, partial control. And the macro environment, we know there is no control at all. So the microenvironment, this refers to the business itself. We're looking at the characteristics by all the processes, functions, and factors within the business. The microenvironment also refers to internal environment, which the business operates. And the microenvironment refers to all internal aspects of a business. So it refers to the resources and functions managed by the business. Always remember, inside. Okay? Internal, we're looking inside, we're looking at the business only on the inside. The market environment, we're looking a little bit outside, but we're not going too far out of the circle. So we had the micro in the middle, then we've got the market, and on the outside, we've got the macro. The more we go out, the less control we have. Just nice exam tips for you. So the market environment, this refers to the immediate or external environment. We're looking at the components or the elements, the factors immediately outside of the business. The business often regularly interacts with these immediate external components or elements. Then the macro environment, we're going further out of the circle and there's no control. The macro environment refers to the external environment that is directly outside of the market environment. The macro environment refers to the uncontrollable factors or forces outside of the business. The external components or elements or factors of the macro environment affect the operations or the profitability of the business. Right, so not going into too much detail, but there's just a nice revision and recap of the three environments. So the challenges in the business environments. All right, so here we've got micro, macro, and market. So the challenges in the micro environment, we're looking at difficult or unmotivated employees, the lack of adequate management skills, the lack of vision or mission, strikes or go-slows, outdated goals and objectives, the lack of human resource capacity, various business functions operating and working inefficiently, and poor working conditions. So remembering micro, this is the inside of the business. So each of these challenges, if you've got difficult or unmotivated employees, all right, we're running a retail store and they're rude to the customers, they arrive to work late and they dress sloppy, okay? This will affect our business and create a challenge. And the more and more we speak to these employees, we're not seeing a change. This creates a very big challenge for the business itself. Then looking at strikes and go-slows. If our employees keep striking, we are being unproductive. Work can't be done. Okay, things are going to fall behind. Poor working conditions. Okay, if our working conditions are not good and it's unsafe, then people are not going to want to work for us. Okay, they're going to go find work somewhere else. Or they will complain about the working conditions by going to the CCMA. And that obviously damages the business image. Then on the right, we're looking at the market environment. What challenges do we have here? We've got competition, supply shortages, changes in consumer behavior, demographics, psychographics, social cultural factors. All right, perhaps something happened in the area where there was an incident of crime and looting. We're looking at a social cultural factor, or the demographics. People don't want to come to our store because they don't feel it's safe. Okay, that will definitely affect our business. If there is a shortage of particular products, that will also affect our business. But do we have control? Very little, as we said. Partial or very less, okay, control. Changes in consumer behavior. Consumers don't like buying our products anymore. Maybe there's a better product on the market. Maybe it's got better technology. It's more convenient. It's cheaper for them. Okay, this poses a challenge for the business. Then we're looking at the macro environment. Changes in income levels, political changes, contemporary legislation, labor restrictions, globalization, international changes, socio-economic issues, and technical advances. So, if there's a change in income level, the minimum wage has now risen. That means we're spending more money on wages and we'll be less profitable. But there's nothing we can do about that, okay? In this environment, we have no control. Labor restrictions. Perhaps there's a new law that comes out that says that workers can only work 5 hours a day. That's going to affect productivity, just a silly example. So there we can see more and more changes there that are going along. COVID-19 would have fit here with the macro environment. Okay, there's nothing we can do. Businesses were closed. It affected the international world. Okay, these are our challenges. So now we're going to dive deeper into these challenges and more specific on the components within these environments. So let's look at the microenvironment, the challenges there. All right, so the components there we have with their bullets. So our mission and vision. our mission and vision. If there's a lack of mission and vision that exists within the business, this is a challenge. The mission or vision of the business is irrelevant and outdated. So we created the mission when we started the company, but now it's 20 years down the line. It needs to keep changing, keep updating. Why? Because the world is changing, the business world is changing. So you need to stay up to date. So it creates a big challenge. If it's outdated, that means that your employees are no longer going to see that as relevant. And if there's no mission and goal to be striving towards, then the purpose of your business also starts becoming blurry. Goals and objectives. The business does not achieve its goals because of a lack of planning. That's a problem. The objective of the business is unrealistic and unattainable. Okay? The goals need to make sure that they are realistic and attainable. Okay? You need people to believe in these goals and the mission and the vision of the business. Otherwise, they're going to sit back and become unmotivated, as we mentioned, and difficult. Organizational resources. The organizational resources are not being used optimally. So then we're looking at the financial, the human, the physical, and other resources. Okay? Perhaps we've got too many workers in one department. Okay? We're not using them to their full potential. There are limited resources available to achieve productivity and the goals. Organizational processes. Internal control mechanisms are not in place to improve organizational processes. Organizational processes have not improved. As I mentioned, it's ever changing. We need to keep changing things and staying up with the times because things are changing by the minute, by the day. Okay, challenges continued. Organizational culture. Sound organizational culture is absent. There is a lack of integrity, ethical, or professional business practices. So with the organizational culture, it's just that feeling that you get. It's when you walk into a company, are the staff friendly? Are they helpful? What extra benefits do you get from going there? Okay, so if there's no organizational culture, it creates a problem. It creates like a bad vibe. There needs to be that synergy between all the workers in that company. Business functions. The incorrect application of sound, efficient business practices within the general management, marketing, finance, public relations, purchasing, production, administration, and human resource business function. Okay? Poor strategic direction within the general management, marketing, finance, public relations, purchasing, production, administration, and human resource business function. All right, now we're moving over to the market environment. Let's look at the challenge specifically in the market environment. So with our customers, as we mentioned, changes in the demand of the customers. They're no longer wanting our product, so the demand changes. Therefore, as we know, the supply is also going to be affected there. Customers buying cheaper alternatives, as I mentioned. Suppliers, they increase the price of inputs. Shortages of supply of critical or important inputs. Competitors reduce the prices of their products and thus creating price wars. Okay, we need to stay competitive, so we need to also match up our prices. So when they lower their price, it creates a problem for us. Are we going to keep our prices high and have no customers, or are we going to lower it to meet them where their prices are at? Market share of competitors is increasing, so which means there are more and more competitors in the market. I always look at it as a pie. So if we're looking at the clothing industry as a pie, okay, how many different clothing brands are there? There are a lot. And we look at what is the piece, the pie slice that they have within that pie in the market share. Okay, we're looking at Woolworths, Pick and Pay Clothing, Jet, Ackermans, Pep, H&M, Truworths, okay, just 7 for example. We look at within the pie, the market share, how many stores are there across the nation, okay? So if the market share of competitors is increasing, which means there's more and more competitors, or there are competitors that own a bigger share of that market. Creates a challenge for us. Intermediaries. This increases the price of their product or services. Intermediaries are unavailable to provide the required service to the business. Okay, continued. Civil society. This places demands on the business to change certain business practices. Civil society may disrupt how the business activities may be conducted. Trade unions. They may place unreasonable pressure on the business to increase wages, salaries, or employment benefits. Trade unions may disrupt business activities. Now we're looking at the macro environment and the challenges. So here we've got political. The government increases the corporate tax rate of businesses. High levels of political instability or corruption or bureaucracy within a country. Economic, a decrease in the availability of credit in the country. The decline in foreign direct investment, economic growth. And in social, there is a decline in the income wealth of consumers because of the increase in the unemployment rate. An increase in the immigration rate of skilled South Africans to foreign countries. So South Africans who have the skills are immigrating to other countries. All right, the macro environment continued. Technological. New, updated, and innovative technology becomes unaffordable for businesses. Okay, it's too expensive to constantly stay up to date. So a good example is, I know way back in the day, the clocking in system. It used to be a card that you used to take and you used to punch it in and it would take the time. Okay, then we moved on to cards where you just tap and scan to check in and clock in at work. Nowadays, most places have fingerprint scanners. I've even seen places that have face recognition. So when we look at that, perhaps we're a company that uses the cards, but the problem is I could ask a colleague to go take my card and tap it for me, okay, because I know I'm late every day. So she keeps my card and she clocks in for me, okay? So the business decides, no, they're going to update their technology. Now they want to move from that to facial recognition, but it's very expensive. So therefore it's unaffordable for them to keep up to date with that, for a good example there. Businesses do not mechanize, improve the production process with new, updated, innovative technology. Legal. The current and new legislation or acts that affect the operation processes of businesses. Time-consuming, increased costs associated with the compliance of the various legislation and acts. Environmental sustainability, preservation, conservation, climate change, sustainable energy use places businesses under pressure to change or transform their current practices. Environmental degradation, unsustainable business practices cause a reduction in the availability of natural resources. In this one, it's where you'll buy a bag from a shop and it'll say that this bag has been 100% recycled. I actually bought a shampoo brand just the other day, L'Oreal Paris, and it said this bottle has been 100% recycled. So in that way, they are environmentally friendly, but it's expensive to do this, okay? And as it mentions there, it creates pressure for the company to actually keep up with this. All right, then here's a nice little recap, a little mind map, okay? Another one, pause the video here so you can see it all as a whole. So at the top here, we've got the 3 different sectors: the primary, the secondary, the tertiary. And at the bottom, we've got the micro, the market, and the macro environments. So it's just a nice little mind map. Please do not rely just on this mind map for information. Please do go deeper into it, but it's a nice summary of this learning unit and this chapter. All right, that comes to the end of the video. Here are the resources that I've made use of for this video, and you are more than welcome to make use of these resources. I have used these in order to create the slides for this video, in which, as I've mentioned, I don't take credit for, and I've used the slides as is. Thank you so much for supporting my channel and for watching this video. I really hope that it was informative and that you learned something today. Please don't forget to hit that like button and to subscribe to my channel for more business studies content and information. The holidays are almost over. I hope you guys have enjoyed them, and please let me know in the suggestions below what term 2 videos would you like to see on my channel. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I can't wait to see you in my next one. Bye for now.